Hello and welcome to an Aviation Top 3 Extra. Today we will focus especially on the situation of Air Berlin. Recently the airline has announced a restructuring of the airline group, which, if successful, would save the airline from bankruptcy. However, I am quite skeptical, and these are my thoughts as to why. Air Berlin is an airline with history. Already started operations in 1978, Air Berlin has been a vital part of the German aviation industry. Although the role Air Berlin has played on that has changed quite dramatically in recent years. Decisions made in the airline already in the 1990s have very much contributed to the financial situation the airline is in now. Now, in the aftermath of the reunification of Germany, Air Berlin tried to position itself into a new market. In that case, it was the market of a low-cost carrier. However, the airline offered complimentary meals and seat reservations. That was something its competitors like BOSS, Hapag-Lloyd Express, Ryanair, Virgin Express did not. And so the airline more established itself as a semi-low-cost carrier instead of a full low-cost carrier. Now, that itself did not need to be a problem for the airline, but it did establish a business pattern that has remained until today. Now, one of the fundamental problems of Air Berlin has always been that the airline never really has integrated fully into a market. It's always been a little bit of everything. Low-cost carrier, but not really. Full-service airline, but not really. Charter airline, but not really. The list goes on and on. Now, every single market Air Berlin has placed itself in could potentially be very lucrative. Now, being present on various markets is in itself not too bad. However, Air Berlin's approach to get into new markets has always been quite messy. And that is actually one of the main reasons for the financial downfall of this airline. In the beginning of the 2000s, Air Berlin started expanding. One of its first targets was German-based airline Germania. In the beginning it started as a cooperation between the two airlines, where Germania almost exclusively was flying for Air Berlin. A merger, however, never succeeded. Its next target was German-based LTU, a charter airline that had a long history in the charter aviation industry. However, at the time of the takeover was in financial problems. The integration of LTU into Air Berlin took a lot of time and was very costly. At the same time, Air Berlin decided to abandon the LTU brand, which was a very recognized and established brand in the aviation industry. The idea was to merge every activity into the Air Berlin brand, but establishing the Air Berlin brand on new markets again turned out to be quite costly. But Air Berlin did not stop there. It managed to take over the remains of DBA, a German-based subsidiary of British Airways that never made any money. It managed to take over Swiss-based Bel Air and Austrian-based Niki. And another deal was struck, a deal with TUI Fly that from now on would fly on behalf of Air Berlin. This deal, however, could very much become the deciding factor in the future of Air Berlin. In an attempt to become profitable, Air Berlin always reached out to new markets, but never managed to break even in any of them. The only strategy the airline seemed to be following was expansion, no matter the cost. And a deal with TUI Fly is a perfect example for that. Total disaster for Air Berlin, great for TUI Fly. Having overextended itself, Air Berlin was in dire need for financial and managerial help, and it found it in Etihad Airways. With Etihad's seamlessly unlimited funds, Air Berlin for years tried to restructure itself. However, it never got to the core problems of the airline. Until finally this year, the airline has proposed a new radical strategy to save the airline. In the future strategy of the airline, Air Berlin will reduce itself to be mainly a feeder service to its main hubs Düsseldorf and Berlin, from where passengers can be distributed to Etihad's network. This will also mean that Air Berlin retreats from most of its bases around Germany. The only focus cities outside its hubs will be Stuttgart and Munich. Of its current fleet of 136 aircraft, only 75 will remain in the new Air Berlin fleet. 40 aircraft will in the future fly for the Lufthansa Group, mainly for Eurowings. 35 aircraft will go into a new touristic operation, most likely with TUI Fly as a partner. However, many details here have still not emerged. Now, whether this strategy will work or not, only time can tell, but it does finally get rid of many of the structural problems Air Berlin has inherited from its many takeovers. If the strategy does not show positive results very quickly for Air Berlin, there can be very little doubt that Etihad Airways will question its involvement with Air Berlin. The only reason Etihad Airways invested in Air Berlin was to gain access to the European market. Now, through multiple other investments like Alitalia, Etihad Airways will not lose the access even if Air Berlin collapses. So this will truly be the final straw for Air Berlin. But what do you think about my analysis? Do you agree or maybe not? Let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to reading your thoughts on the topic. And if you would like me to do more videos like this, be sure to smash that like button. Now with that, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out. And bye.